Everyone, Bonnie made a friend in class.
Oh, she's already making friends.
No, she literally made a new friend. I want you to meet Forky.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
He's a spork.
Yes, yeah, I know.
I'll admit right up front that I wasn't very hyped about Toy Story 4. As a huge fan of the original trilogy, as well as considering Part 3 to be the definitive and perfect send-off for this franchise and these characters, the announcement of a continuation filled me with a bit of dread. I didn't mind the Toy Story short films that have been made over the past decade, as they seemed like a decent compromise between letting Part 3 be an impactful ending, but also technically continuing the franchise through inconsequential shorts. But here we are, 9 years later with a proper follow-up, with an odd premise and a marketing campaign that really did nothing for me. So, how's the film? Well, it makes me wonder why I even doubted Pixar in the first place, because while this probably won't rank as the best film in the franchise, it still stands as a terrific animated movie. And the fact that the movie is kind of about Sheriff Woody having to keep going after an ending is the real masterstroke here. Not only does Toy Story 4 feel like a breath of fresh air in a summer movie landscape almost committed to being as inconsequential and insubstantial as possible, but this feels like the first movie in the franchise to actually be about the toys, as opposed to an examination on growing up or abandonment in general. The inciting incident is fun enough, with the toy's new owner, Bonnie, making a new member of the gang from pieces of rubbish which gain sentience, acting as a strong jumping off point. But this is really Woody's story. The new character, Forky, mainly exists as comic relief and as a MacGuffin, but the film still has plenty of twisted fun at the idea of an inanimate object almost committed to wanting to throw himself away and treating himself like trash. But with Woody now finding himself unfulfilled as Bonnie's toy, and also coming to terms with the fact that he can't always be the de facto leader of the group, starts to have an existential crisis, which leads to him discovering what happened to Bo Peep, who disappeared between Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3, and having to choose between his new child and friends over the great unknown of being a lost toy. I think the worst thing that Toy Story 4 could have done was repeat the beats or retread the same ground as its predecessors. But Toy Story 4 doesn't do that, as it confidently throws in new settings and minor characters that you could have built an entire movie around, like a cast of characters in a public park, before carrying on with the main story at hand. It's that level of detail and commitment to world building that Pixar have been so brilliantly implementing for the past 25 years. But speaking of years, I think that Pixar are acutely aware of the age range of those who grew up with the original Toy Story film and have managed to talk to that exact demographic, with these last few films in particular, with subtext of irrelevancy, growing up and dealing with the world passing you by, and Woody's arc here is compelling and interesting to watch unfold. How does a character who has built his entire identity on being a supportive father figure move on after the child has flown the nest? Toy Story 4 is primarily aimed at fans of the original film who have now become parents, as well as the actual parents of children who were young when the first movie came out. This angle and new approach is helped by Tom Hanks, who has obviously aged over the past 20 years and is clearly sounding a bit gruffer with his vocal performance, but is still imbuing this iconic character with real charm and pathos. But we also have new voice actors playing new supporting characters like Keanu Reeves as Duke Kaboom, Key and Peele as Bunny and Ducky, Ali Mackey as Giggle McDimples, all memorable and all earning their place in the Toy Story canon, but a huge shout out needs to be given to Christina Hendricks as new villain Gabby Gabby, who initially seems like an amalgamated version of prior villains, but her arc over this story is something else, and Hendricks is terrific here. All of these newcomers undergo engaging arcs that kept me guessing throughout. I did not see many of these plot resolutions coming, and that is really impressive. Also, the most discerning of my audience were completely right about how I would react to the new mannequin dummies, as in I was freaking terrified of them. Thank you for noticing. If there are weak spots to be found, it's with the returning cast, with Bo Peep essentially getting a massive personality retcon, and this new version seemed a bit generic in her portrayal. Yeah, Bo Peep was originally just a one-dimensional love interest for Woody, but now Bo Peep has turned into a one-dimensional action movie heroine. She's the token tough girl, if you get what I mean, your superficial Ripley or Sarah Connor ripoff, but with less personality. I'm not saying that turning Bo Peep into an action hero is inherently a bad thing, but in this case it feels like we've just swapped out one cliche for another. Not to mention her conflict with Woody feels like it's missing a couple of beats to really make it work. Also, whilst Buzz Lightyear has never been the sharpest toy, he seems to have been significantly dumbed down in this new film, and he's mainly here to precipitate slapstick in the film's B-plot, and if you're fans of mainstays like the Potato Heads, Rex, Jessie, Slinky, and all of Bonnie's other toys, then prepare for disappointment as they're mainly here as a courtesy, playing no role in either plotline. I know Toy Story 4 isn't about the supporting cast, but neither was Toy Story 2, and that movie still found plenty for them to do. But still, these issues do feel relatively minor when compared to how much Toy Story 4 really does deliver. It's constantly funny, being the film with the best slapstick in the series, in my opinion. All the new characters are great, the animation is as terrific as you'd expect from Pixar, the storyboarding is confident, and its themes are ones that you're going to want to sit on for a few days after watching. But I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't nervous about the prospect of continuing the story further. I feel like I'm watching a beloved family member attempt a dangerous stunt where they stuck the landing on part 4 and made it work and work incredibly well, but for the sake of their own safety and my own personal nerves, I'd rather they didn't attempt it again. I give Toy Story 4 4.5 stars out of 5.
Duke Kaboom, Canada's greatest stuntman. Oh yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
He's posing.
Yeah.
Duke, we need
Hold
to...
on. One more. Oh yeah.
Trilbee, Trilbee.